Rams action Wednesday is a spinoff of what Rich Eisen and Chris Brockman do on Monday for Overreaction Monday. It's basically potential hot takes pitched to payo time into you guys in the chat, except they're all focused on the Rams. After I pitch it, you guys are going to react if it's a hot take or an over Rams action, or if it's fair. Starting off with number one here, we're going to be facing a very good tight end in George Kittle.
Yeah.
He's been back the last few weeks, but he hasn't had over 42 yards since coming back.
Really?
So in saying that, Terrance Ferguson will have more yards than George Kittle in this game. For reference, Terrance Ferguson last week had over 50 receiving yards. What say you guys?
Wow. Okay, that's an interesting stat about George Kittle. I did not know that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to say this is not an over Rams action. I think Terrance Ferguson has gotten better the past two games.
Yeah.
And you saw him on Rams Revealed this week. That dude looks like he's ready to be a force. And I could see this being the Terrance Ferguson breakout game.
Yeah. And I'm like we just keep seeing him get used more and more in this offense.
Yeah.
So I could definitely see it. And I think a lot of the times that Ferguson gets a catch, like what's been the shortest Terrance Ferguson catch with the Rams? Like they're always, I feel like, over 10 yards.
Yeah.
They always,
the first one was 16, right?
Against the 49ers, yeah. And then you think about that deep one against the Jaguars in London for the touchdown. You think about the corner out last week against the Saints. And so, like, he's at high volume, like, in terms of when he gets the catch, it's usually an explosive.
Yeah. Yeah. Kittle has 100 on the season. Ferg hit over 50 last week and is getting more and more involved. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Especially with that 13 personnel. So, I mean, it may sound like a hot take, especially for 49ers fans, but if you really look at it, like, just purely looking at numbers, Ferguson has been outperforming Kittle since he came back, but he's also just kind of getting worked back into the offense. Kittle is after the injury. So I think a good point by Rams Mob here. He says, I don't know. To me, it sounds like an over Rams action. Kittle always seems to play well against the Rams.
That's fair.
Which is very fair.
Yeah.
Kittle does play very well against the Rams, and I definitely expect him to be heavily involved another game after his injury coming back. So I think you could go either way on this one. When you're just looking at pure yards, though, like I think Ferguson has a chance. He gets some explosives. So, all right, number two, keeping it with the in-division theme here. We know the Seahawks just absolutely obliterated the Commanders last week, and they've just been looking so good. We're going to see them in 2 weeks. And so I have a take here. The Rams and the Seahawks will combine for 25 or more wins this season by the end of the year.
Ooh. Okay. I have to think about this. So right now they're both 6-2. So they have 12 wins combined right now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're saying one team would be at least 13 wins and one team would be at least 12 wins. Maybe both teams would be 13-4.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I don't think that's an over Rams action. And I'll admit to pretty much the entire offseason, I was not buying what the Seahawks were selling. I thought they were going to be way worse than they were last year. Because I was the guy that was like, they were a 10-win team last year with Geno Smith. Like they could have won the division if a few more wins go their way. But then, boy, was I wrong. Moving off Geno Smith apparently was totally the right thing to do. And like moving off Metcalf, getting Jackson Smith and Jigba doing his thing. The Seahawks they're a good team. They're a good team.
Mm-hmm.
And not to the Rams are a good team too. I like what the Rams are doing. And I don't think that's an over Rams action for the Rams and Seahawks to go for over 25 wins combined. That's yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, like both these teams are going to be kind of beating up on each other because either the Rams give the Seahawks 2 losses or they split. Like they could both be getting losses from each other. But like really outside of this division, I think that the Seahawks and the Rams can like beat up on some NFC teams. And like that's just how good they are. I can see it happening. I mean, to have two teams get 12 and 13 wins is incredible. Like that's crazy, especially in the same division. But we saw that in the NFC North last year with more than those wins. So we'll see how this plays out here. But number 3, we did hear this week it was either Kyler Murray got benched or he was hurt. And so that's just kind of been the reason why Jacoby Brissett is going to be playing moving forward. So here's one for you. Xavier Smith will have more receiving touchdowns by the end of the year than Kyler Murray has games started with the Cardinals.
I was wondering where you're going with this. Oh man! Of course we had to do something about throwing shade at the Cardinals and Kyler Murray, which I'm totally convinced him going to IR is his agent helping him save face. I'm of the mindset of this was a soft benching, right? Like,
yes, I'm with you.
But to answer your question, Xavier Smith will have more receiving touchdowns. So him getting one would be like it's not out of the question for Xavier Smith not to get any receiving touchdowns by the end of the year. Him getting one, I don't think Kyler Murray will start another game for the Cardinals. Like I think the Kyler Murray era is done in the desert. I see Sheriff Joe. He thinks he's thinking Murray comes back, and it's me and Johnny, we're on the same page. Kyler's benched. He's out for at least 4 more weeks. That takes us to week 14.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Cardinals fall out of the division race, why would they? Because if he gets injured, that makes him less tradable, right? Like I think they want to protect him as a kind of tradable commodity now, right? So I don't think Kyler Murray plays another game for the Cardinals. So I'm going to say Xavier Smith. That's not an over Rams action. I had to talk it out, but I'm there.
Yeah. That's great. You could really go either way on this one. Sheriff Joe Bag says Murray era is done after this year, but we will see him back at some point this season.
I disagree.
I feel like you have to admit the offense for the Cardinals has looked so much better with Brissett in there. Not just the game that they just played against the Cowboys, but even against the Packers. Like you can see a difference. The offense runs better with Kyler or without Kyler Murray in there, which is crazy because they paid him to do that. But I don't know, man. I really think you could go either way with this one. I think if we see Kyler start a game for the Cardinals, it would be more out of Brissett gets injured and Kyler has to go in, which would be a very interesting storyline, but definitely going to be something to keep track of. Number 4, I have to preface this one because I asked one of my brothers to come up with this one, just somebody who's not a Rams fan to come up with a take here. So, see what you guys think of this one. Number 4, Tyler Higbee will have more touchdowns for the Rams than Puka Nacua has by the end of the year. Right now, Tyler Higbee is only 1 touchdown behind Puka Nacua, and we've known Puka to be a guy who puts up more yards and catches and all those kinds of stats than he does touchdowns. But Higbee, especially with this 13 personnel, with red zone involvement, and Devontae Adams getting touchdowns, will it be an over Rams action to say Higbee has more touchdowns than Puka Nacua?
I'm going to say yeah. I think that's an over Rams action. I just think that Puka, as long as he's on the field, is always consistently part of this, Rams offense. Tyler Higbee, it's very much game to game whether he's, he's in the red zone, and especially because I just feel like Devontae Adams is more of a red zone threat than Higbee is right now. So I'm going to say that's an over Rams action there, but that's a good one.
Honestly, I could see it going either way, but I don't think it's an over Rams action to say Higbee has more touchdowns than Puka by the end of the year, just because, like Sheriff Joe Bag says, Puka isn't really a touchdown guy. We have seen him get more touchdowns recently with the Rams, but for whatever reason, he's never been a guy to get a lot of those. And even earlier in the year, I can't remember exactly what the week was, but earlier in the year, Puka Nacua tied Van Jefferson for career Ram touchdowns. And that was surprising to me. We know how good Puka's been, and he obviously hasn't spent as much time with the Rams as Van Jefferson did. But Van Jefferson never got a second contract with the Rams, and Puka just tied that touchdown thing. And he's used so much, so I think that's just kind of interesting when you look at it that way.
Well, and I think touchdowns for Puka will come in spurts, right? Maybe he's not getting it now, but I could see another game another 3 weeks where he catches a touchdown every game in a row, right? Like, I don't think it's totally crazy, but yeah, I could see the different perspective.
Yeah. Sheriff Joe Bag says Adams has 3 less touchdowns as a Ram than Puka does right now, and I think he means all time with the Rams, which is
crazy.
But I mean, like, Adams is just eating up touchdowns right now in the red zone.
So, but he was signed for that, right? Like,
he was.
Like, when the Rams signed Devontae Adams, it was with the mindset of like, oh, this is to improve the red zone efficiency, and that's especially the past couple of games. That's what we've been seeing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are saying like the Rams are just realizing to use him down there. But if you've been a Rams fan watching the games all year, you saw even early on, like they really wanted to get those red zone touchdowns with Adams and Stafford. There were 2 missed in the Ravens game. You had 1 missed in the Eagles game. You had like 3 missed against the Titans. They were going through his hands or a miss throw, whatever. Now things are starting to click, and now that connection is really being established where we're seeing kind of like the fruits of what they're trying to sow into that. So I think that's definitely exciting to see that be rewarded a little bit. Number 5 here, Matthew Stafford has been on an absolute tear.
Yeah.
I've been loving watching Matthew Stafford this year. It's been such a blast. Matthew Stafford's career high touchdowns for the Rams in the regular season is 41. I'm saying Matthew Stafford is breaking his Ram career touchdown in this season by the end of the year. He's going to have more than 41 touchdowns. He's at 21 right now at this point in the season. I say he breaks 41.
Thinking about it, marinating with it. This isn't an over Rams action, and it starts on Sunday when Stafford can win against the Niners and get to a career 500 as a quarterback, or essentially erasing his dark season in Detroit.
Which is incredibly impressive.
Very much so. But all joking aside, Stafford played so well that 2021 season. It was statistically the best season by a Rams quarterback. Like, it was phenomenal. I think this season he's on another level, which is crazy to think for a 37-year-old quarterback. But he's playing better than he's ever played at any point in his career. And it's not just like that the Rams are winning and Stafford's putting up, a lot like good numbers and things like that. If you look at it, Stafford is like opening up his tool belt of throws, and like you're seeing sidearms, you're seeing no look passes, you're seeing deep balls, you're seeing the check down when needed. You're like literally the entire playbook is at this guy's right hand, right? And
yeah,
he's tearing apart defenses left and right like it's going out of style, and I love it.
Yeah, and McVay, there's been 2 things that McVay has constantly said this year about Matthew Stafford that has impressed him, and they really stand out to me. Like, he said, first, you can't say that many offenses teams have their offense built around their quarterback, and that's what they have for Matthew Stafford. Like, the offense goes through him, and they build the entire thing on him and what he can do and how much he can do. But another thing he's talked about so much this year is that Stafford really has barely had any turnover-worthy plays this season.
Yeah.
He's barely had any turnovers in general. But we've seen in years past, as good as Stafford has been, even in that Super Bowl year, he led the league in interceptions with 17. This year, he's got 2 right now. But like, you're barely like, I feel like Rams fans used to see at least like 1 throw a game where you're like, oh, Stafford, that was like right into the hands of the DB, but they dropped it. Or why'd you force it into that window? Like that kind of stuff. This year, he's playing smartly aggressive, is the way I would put it. Like, he's playing smart football, but he's also doing no looks 20 yards down the field. He's just playing incredibly smart, and he's not even putting the ball in harm's way while he's having incredible production. So I definitely think that it's not an over Rams action. Stafford is playing, I'd even argue, better than he did in the Super Bowl year. Just, this is probably his best year on his career, I would make. So